We weren't sure what we were going to be playing today, but it turns out we're playing Skyward Sword, of course. And we are playing the HD version with just like the nice improvements, including the one very, very nice improvement of I do not have to be doing this the entire time we're playing. I just changed the audio input, so that should help. I believe that should have changed things. Hopefully that fixed it. I just had something unmuted that shouldn't have been unmuted and noticed that, like, as you clearly were typing in chat, like... Oh no, though. The crackle has returned. Give me one sec. The true villain of the podcast. The podcast? The true villain of the stream. Seems to have helped it. Kick about the Elgato a little bit. I think I just need to replace it soon. Back. Figure it out. Oh, that's worse. That's way worse. Just jiggle these wires. That's the real question, is like, where's it coming from? What part of the wire is a bit unstable? Let's hope it. Oh dear. Okay, well, we'll move on then. If no one else is here in the crackle, the crackly dackly doos, maybe it's just on my end. But hopefully, like, the music sounds nice enough for everyone. Maybe I just need to turn my headphones off. But is the volume for the music and stuff okay for everyone? Of course, I've plugged it into a Switch today and not an Xbox, so the Elgato wants to, like, do things differently. Obviously, there's not music playing right now, but when it did, we'll get that, like, that tech chat going on. Because now you should be able to hear it coming through again. It was nice. Cool. So yeah. This is like the preliminary story of Skyward Sword. How's a war of... Like, good versus evil as always, but dark fateful day, the earth cracked wide, and malevolent forces rushed through from the distance, I guess it said. I missed that bit, but this is the, like, official first game in canon. A brutal assault upon the surface people, driving the land into deep despair. So yeah, canonically this should be like the first one. And it's basically like, oh shit, there was a great war down on the surface level, i.e. like Hyrule, and the goddess Hylia is involved. And then just, yeah. They did this to take the ultimate power protected by a grace the goddess, the Triforce. Of course, and then there's the sages, which appear to be, like, 5 sages, not 6 in this one. Well, technically 7 sages, but, like, Hylia / Zelda is normally one of them. But yeah. It gave the holder the means to shape reality. And the old ones, i.e. the gods, placed it in the hand of, like, Goddess Hylia. And that would be, like, you know, Din, Nehru, and Farore. And then, yeah, she sent the 4 skywards beyond even the clouds so that the demonic forces could not get it. So basically, Hylia was just treated with this situation of, like, got it, demons are going to get the the Triforce. So, fuck it, to keep everybody safe, I'm just going to launch it into the sky and make that, like, essentially the sacred realm. And peace was restored to the surface of just, like, Hylia fucked up the demons. They were able to sort it all out because, yeah, the Triforce is gone now. No one can fucking have it. All the legends, long hidden away from memory, that are intertwined with this tale. Which, again, as always... Ooh. With, like, the Zelda games and everything, is just like, yeah. You can't always take everything for, like, exactly the way that it's stated in, like, the myths or the legends or even the games themselves of, like, the whole point is that this is all about, like, legends and mythology and tales passed down through time. Game audio. Through. Appear to have now lost audio. Give me a sec. I just unplugged my headphones because, like, the wires were getting way down and crackling a lot. I think that's what the crackle I could hear was. But Alien should be some level of input going on here. Like, let's just turn everything back on the way it was. There we go. We're getting volume through again. Of course, we'll just call ourselves Link. I never really see the point in doing anything otherwise. Just nicer for me. It's just Link. It's just fine. I mean, we did get, obviously, the, like, Hyrule Warriors game for Breath of the Wild. That was, like, the, that was, like, sequel to Breath of the Wild, right? I never went through and played the Age of Calamity one. Or maybe it was a prequel. But either way, it basically was, like, in the end of it, just, I think it was very much written to, yeah, it wasn't anywhere near as popular as the first Hyrule Warriors was. And then, just, like, I think after it came out, it was like, oh, cool, it's helped be written with, like, the Breath of the Wild team and all this jazz. And then it was like, oh, it was actually a side story where none of the story matters. But yeah, that did happen, but it didn't happen in canon or anything, because it was just like, oh, all this story happened, and then we pressed the reset button and none of it actually happened, or whatever it was, or it was an alternate timeline where none of it actually matters to the canon. But they did do Age of Calamity, which was like a Hyrule Warriors game with the cast of Breath of the Wild characters. But yes, this is, to this day, the first canonical game according to like Hyrule Historia, which is, you know, official to Nintendo. But you ask the people who work on Zelda about like that timeline, and none of them really seem to give a shit. It was more seemingly that they just like, this was definitively when it came out, like, this is canonically the first game. And similar to how Ocarina of Time and Minish Cap were when they came out. So obviously they've gone backwards and backwards. Like, Ocarina of Time came out like 98 or whatever. Then Minish Cap came out in like 2003. Then that was the new first ever game in canon. And then this came out in like 2011 and was the new first game in canon. But this basically tells the, like, you know, the story of the Master Sword. Or what is not yet the Master Sword, and kind of tells the kind of origins of the Master Sword, the Hyrule, kind of tells the origins of, like, the Zelda, Link, Ganon trio. It is very much set up as, like, a full origin tale for the franchise. And classic, just, you know, if we haven't noticed yet, the classic trope of Link always asleep at the start of the game. And I do think, obviously this is the HD version, but I do think that the art style for this game holds up very nicely. It is a HD remaster, but considering that this is like a, like, you know, 2011 Wii game, I think, like, obviously you can tell, like, a lot of things are very blocky. And a lot of it is a little blurry when it comes to, like, textures and stuff, but the idea was that it was almost like a watercolor-esque art style. Hold L until camera. Okay, that's a bit weird. I was just trying to use the right stick. But yeah, I think with the cleaning up that the HD version did of just make everything a little bit sharper, and obviously like upscale it and stuff, I do actually think, along with the kind of general idea of Wind Waker as well, that yeah, this looks very nice compared to a lot of games when you look back at like 2011 games. In the same way that like Wind Waker looks very nice in comparison to a lot of its peers at the time. Good old Fledge. Today is the big wing ceremony, yeah. Like, oh, Fledge didn't make the cut. It's almost like he's a fledgling. I'm stuck back at the academy. I've got to move these barrels over to the kitchen. It's like, oh, I could cheer you on, Link. It's like, oh yeah, well, what a good way to, you know, start the game. But let us into it. If like, well, today is the last day of academy. Hi, Shadow. We've mostly been dealing with, like, introductions and making sure my audio crackle is solved a little bit for now, but I think it was mostly just coming through my headphones. It seems to have calmed down now. But yeah, we've literally just got out of the first door in the game, so you've not missed much. But welcome. And oh yeah, here we go. Here is just like, well, it's Academy Day and it's like ceremony day. So this is one thing that, you know, is dinged on both kind of like Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess, and I think it's maybe even a little bit worse, arguably, in Skyward Sword. Just how much of the opening hours of the game are just like quite slow, a lot of talking, a lot of tutorials, a lot of story, whereas obviously a lot of other Zelda games, and that's why Breath of the Wild tried to like mix things up a bit, of just, you know what, like, go at it, go on. Just a lot of the complaints geared towards this game were kind of how handholdy it could be at times. And yeah, that's where they went the complete opposite way with Breath of the Wild. And it is very funny playing a game like this and thinking back to the time when this game came out, where they were like, there's a lot of good in this game, and then there's a lot of like tired tropes of the Zelda franchise that really need to kind of, you know, be re-examined and freshened up a little bit. And then the moment the Breath of the Wild comes out, just like 6 years later or whatever it is, then people all of a sudden are like, man, we need to get back to the Zelda formula. It's like every Zelda fan was complaining about the Zelda formula 6 years ago when Skyward Sword came out. The whole point was people were saying that it needed to be, you know, as good as Skyward Sword was, that it needed to refresh its style and kind of modernize itself as a franchise. Yeah, right, yeah, people complaining that, like, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom don't have enough tutorialization. I'm like, okay. Like, I semi-get that, because you are kind of just left to your own devices. But again, it was in reaction to how badly these games tutorialize people and help people's hands. And I don't think it's particularly that bad compared to a lot of other games are also, I think, very similar, especially at the time. Like, this was just kind of a lot of gaming in 2011 was not trusting the player and doing a lot of super heavy story-based stuff in the intro, and I don't really think it was necessarily just a problem with this game. It was a problem with a lot of games at the time, and even you see to this day, right? Like, a lot of games just can't stop holding your hand for the first few hours. But yeah, the idea that Breath of the Wild is like, oh, it doesn't do it enough. It's... I hope it is just the crackle on my end, because the music in this game is really amazing, and I always expect that with Zelda games, but this is notably the first full Zelda game to have an orchestrated soundtrack, and it just sounds lovely. Sounds absolutely gorgeous. And obviously Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom do, but they feature music a lot less heavily. It's like used sparingly in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And that is one critique which I don't necessarily agree with, because I understand why. Because the kind of quietness of Breath of the Wild, like, does add to the game, and it also adds to the moments where you do go to a village and hear like the beautiful soundtrack and stuff. But I do miss just like having a fully soundtrack game start to finish with like beautiful Zelda music all throughout. So I kind of get both sides of the argument with that one, but I do think for the style of game they were going for, that critique is not really worthy of Breath of the Wild, because it was trying something different. And just here is like, yeah, she looks great. Skyward Sword Zelda's design, fantastic. It was this, then Link Between Worlds, and then Breath of the Wild, which gave us just like 3 awesome, amazing Zelda designs. And I really think that the whole art design of Tears of the King, Twilight Princess is a bit just overdone for me and a bit over detailed, especially for like a game on the GameCube and Wii. I think they were a bit try hard with the art style in Twilight Princess for my liking, which I loved when I was like 14, but now not so much. And I just think Zelda's design looks very drab in that game. And then from then on, we've had a few really nice, bright, smart, cool-looking Zeldas. And I say bright as in, like, bright and colourful design and aesthetic. Okay. I wanna win that Loftwing race. I mean, a hot, spicy, like, strong garlic sauce, though, that sounds good. As somebody who almost exclusively always used the garlic sauce when I worked at Nando's, I always approve, like, spicy garlic sauce. Recently, Link hasn't been practicing much at all for the ceremony. It's just, this Zelda clearly gives a shit about you, but she just gives you a lot of shit as well. She's like, she clearly wants to see Link do well, but she's just constantly... Well, this Link is just lazy, he sleeps a lot, and then when he is out on his Loftwing, he's just lazily gliding around daydreaming. He's going to have to get perfect control of his bird today to win. And I can't exactly remember how the HD version deals with the controls of the Loftwing. But back in the day, imagine I'm holding a Wiimote right now. I'm not holding a Wiimote, obviously, but you have to kind of hold it like this and angle it up and down and fly like that. And that's how you actually, like, physically controlled the Loftwing. Yeah, this is a long lineage of Link just never getting a rest from here on out. Like, you've known him since you were both very little, you should know better than to fret about him. And again, this kind of time period, they were very much setting up Link and Zelda as childhood friends in a lot of the games, rather than just random strangers that meet for the sake of fate. I very much feel that in terms of my cooking style of just no recipe, just vibes. Just feel it out. So, we are made whole by our Loftwings, the guardian birds that the goddess bestows upon each of us as a symbol of her divine protection. And it's very much just, yeah. When each and every one of us meets our Loftwing under the great statue of the goddess, it's a big moment. When, obviously, just the exposition coming in. The first meeting between Link and his Loftwing was extraordinary. So yeah, the birds are like, you know, very much linked to each individual person. When you see Link just jump on a Loftwing, it's not a Loftwing, it's his Loftwing, a Crimson Loftwing that is so rare. We were sure for some time that it vanished from the line. This is real some just How to Train Your Dragon vibes going on. Just, oh yeah, the rare breed of dragon that we thought was gone forever, that fucking Hickledy-Bickledy managed to form a connection with. I can't fucking remember the name of the boy. Like, the protagonist in How to Train Your Dragon is just the least interesting part of How to Train Your Dragon. Even though he's literally quite interesting in the sense that he figures out the connection with the dragons and pushes it forward and stuff. But yeah, just out of the two of them, the only thing that matters is Toothless. Hiccup, that's it. I knew, like, saying higgledy-piggledy, I was like, there's a hick in there somewhere, I think. It is hiccup, though. Or, like, I don't know if it's spelt hiccup or it's spelt, like, spelt hickoff, which is obviously hiccup as well, but yeah. I think in, like, in America, they just spell it like it sounds, though, right? Like, H-I-C-C-U-B. Whereas, for some reason, we spell it hick-cough. And it's like, okay, sure. Just make English that more difficult, yeah. That's always one that, like, blew me away when I figured out how to actually... again, at least the English way of spelling hiccup is just like... Why would you type it that way? Like, why would you spell it hickoff? It just doesn't make any sense. And I'm sure it comes from the fact that a cough and a hiccup are both, like, you know, similar-esque kind of things, and I'm sure that's kind of the origin of the name, but it's stupid. Well, there we go. So the ceremony is part of the final test for those training to become the Knights of Skyloft. If Link doesn't fly fast enough during the race, it's like, what? He'll have to fucking do the test again next year. What if he's not allowed to become a knight? Almost as if you become a completely different person when you worry about Link. But it's almost as if they're very good friends. And actually, playing through a lot of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at the moment, the kind of vibes between Zelda and Link in this game almost feel like the vibes of the female cast towards Cloud in that. In Remake and Rebirth, of just, like, Jessie, Aeris, and Tifa all kind of saying to Cloud, like, you know, you're very attractive, and we probably would if you wanted to. But we know that you're super awkward and we're just going to take the piss out of you. Is that we're going to be very flirty and out there with you and take the piss out of you because you just become very awkward in those situations. Is that any sense of true? Or is that just some bullshit that you make up? Because I'm like, that's the kind of stupid thing where it's like, that sounds wrong, but it sounds dumb enough that it could be an actual, like, thing that the body just kind of naturally does. I love this as well. Jump off the edge and call your loft wing. Just get some practice in. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you can't sense your bird out there, Link? Sure. Yeah, whatever. You're trying to weasel out of not having to practice, but you're not fooling me. And Zelda murders Link. Zelda, right now, in this very moment, murders Link. It's like, he did say he couldn't sense his bird, and his Loftwing sure has taken a long time to appear. I have actually found a way that seems to always work, of getting rid of hiccups. And it's hard to demonstrate with glasses on, but I'll just give the general vibe of, like, get your fingers and place them, like, just right in front of your eyes, as if, like, you're nearly about to touch them. And then kind of, like, open up your chest, lift your arms, like, up and back, so that you're basically just opening up your chest fully. and try to focus on the fact that you just want to keep your fingers very close to your eyes without touching them. And if you just, like, hold your breath like that for about 20-30 seconds, since I've learned of that, it gets rid of hiccups every time. And this is coming from somebody that gets such bad hiccups that sometimes it used to last for, like, hours. And it very much is the sense of just... I think all that really matters is the fact that you're lifting your chest up and out and opening up your chest completely. But that's the best way I've heard it explained, is like, just focus on lifting, like, your elbows back and up and not touching your eyes, but nearly touching your eyes. And just hold your breath for a little bit. And that seems to appear the like, year or so that I've been doing it every single time. It appears to be a foolproof way to get rid of your hiccups. Or at least close to foolproof. The Ark of Space, which has a bubble wrap monster. That's the kind of shit I love, though. Of, like, what's the monster in, like, this episodes of Doctor Who? And it's like, it's clearly a fucking bin that you got from the office and just stuck a guy inside or some shit. Of, like, the old school Doctor Who when they had just fucking, like, 1970s or 80s BBC budget. I mean, I do like the idea of just remember that you're not a fish. Remember that you don't need to breathe in water, it's okay. I do like that as an idea. But it is one thing that, like, as someone who's really struggled for 30 years of my life to ever get rid of hiccups, that seems to work on me every single time, and I just want to always mention it to people when the conversation is brought up. Of like, oh, I actually managed to finally find one way to get rid of hiccups, and I can't fault it. It's been like, a horrible problem for me for a long time. Like, there are times when it's ruined the entire, like, nights out for me, because I've just spent hours getting more progressively, like, nauseous and feeling horrible because I've just been, like, hiccuping and stuff. It's like, oh, Link, when you said that you couldn't sense your loft wing, I should have believed you. But instead I just pushed you off the island. Again, like, Zelda straight up just murdered Link. He went, my loft wing's not out there. I can't sense it out there. Please do not push me. And she went, right, got it, murder. And just pushed him off. Yeah, a budget bubble wrap monster is exactly like... I don't actually want it to go back that way, because it is nice to be able to, you know, get into the fantastical Doctor Who episodes and stuff, and, like, the amount of budget they have is nice, but I wish it would have, like, some of that silliness brought back. Not necessarily the budget being slashed to nth degree, but just, like, the kind of the same level of fuck it in terms of, you know, the production and the silliness and what they can get away with. Is not necessarily everything just has to be bad CG. Yep, 100%. Many nights where, like, I had violent hiccups for hours and hours, and it just ruined my entire night. Often ended up with me either being super nauseous or me just, like, full on being sick because of it. You're the headmaster of the academy, father. If Link asks Instructor Horwell, he'll probably just be able to come and talk to you about it. Link, come and tell Instructor Horwell to come see me in my quarters. Cool. Yes, is it on... So it's on Disney Plus as well, even though it was made for Apple TV? That's very interesting, because, yeah, we got Apple TV, like, voucher for, like, 6 months. And, just, like, I got a code when, I bought a game. I can't remember what game it was, but, like, around Christmas time, bought a game, and it was like, oh, you just get 6 months of Apple TV. So we redeemed that, and for a little while, we've been watching things every now and then. Like, we watched Severance on there. And then, like, our friends came around, and they'd basically done the same thing a few months before us. So they recommended a bunch of things on Apple TV, including Poor Things, which now we've got on, like, a list of a few things to watch before our, like, voucher runs out. And, yeah, then Jenna turned around to me the other day and was like, oh, yeah, we need to watch Poor Things. It's on Disney Plus. I was like, but it's a Apple Plus movie, right? Like, I'm pretty sure it is just an Apple Plus thing that they funded or something. But yeah, it's cool. It's on Disney Plus as well. Not nudity. Not the sanctity of just... So it was a limited cinema release that was made for Apple TV, I believe. I'm fairly certain anyway. Let's have a look. Nightbot, why have you... I need to change the timings on this Nightbot so that Nightbot just doesn't, like, come in and just say everything I want it to say all in one go. We'll sort that out another time. Poor Things. Apple... We're doing a mini wiki weekends at the moment. Oh, wow, okay. I mean, it started off being a Film 4 project in as early as 2009. Maybe it's just that, because I remember it being mentioned on like a podcast that I was listening to, but maybe they were just mistaken, and I'm just taking their word. They said something confidently, and I've taken their word for it. They were like, "Oh no, it's an Apple TV thing," but it's just on Apple TV, and it's not. Yeah, it's not made by them. Film 4, Element Pictures, and TSG, and it's on Apple TV and Disney Plus, at least over here, and it was released in the cinemas, but not like, I don't think it was mass released to cinemas for, ages and ages, because it didn't make a bunch of money at cinemas. No, I'm not thinking of Napoleon. Like, it is on Apple TV, and it was just, like, a conversation that I heard last week or something, where they were talking about, like, that and the Oscars and Poor Things, and how it was, like, they said something along the lines of, like, they were saying, like, oh, it was not released in many cinemas on purpose because Apple wanted it to be, like, more exclusive to Apple TV when it launched. Which, obviously, again, they just said something confidently and I took the word for it. But they've clearly got that wrong. Yes, where am I going? It just seems to be on Apple TV, and it's got nothing to do with Apple production. But yeah, it's Go hurry and find your bird. Okay. Can we get through this way? Where's Groose? Oh, Groosey and Lucy. Bruce and his little cronies were saying they were heading down to the wing ceremony in the plaza. Yeah, and okay, so no one's airing the Walking Dead spin-offs in the UK. Because yeah, like I literally saw the other day that people were apparently saying like, oh, the Walking Dead like Rick and Michonne show is like way better than all of the Walking Dead spin-offs. And while dashing, press the left stick in. Okay. Yeah, because just to saw like, oh yeah, it's like rating even better than a lot of the seasons of the Walking Dead like actual show is. And I'm very annoyed because him saying that, like, it makes me want to catch up with The Walking Dead, but I don't want to watch all of that. But I would quite like to watch a good Walking Dead show with Rick and Michonne in it, because they were two great characters, and when The Walking Dead was good, it was one of my favourite shows. But I would have assumed it's on, like, Now TV, because that's where all of The Walking Dead used to be and stuff. Like, when it was first coming out, it was releasing on Now TV at the same time as HBO or whatever. Oh, Gruce took out our Crimson Loftwing. We got him, and I don't care how tough those birds are supposed to be. He's not getting out of that pen anytime soon. So yeah, Gruce is, you know, one of the standout characters, shall we say, of Skyward Sword. Like, Link and Zelda are great, and Gruce is also just maybe not great, but he's a character, that's for sure. He's memorable. He is the antagonist. He's basically the high school bully, right? Oh, Gruce, can you please find it in your heart to let me win today, please? You're just so desperate to win so you can get some alone time with Zelda up atop the statue of the goddess at the end of the ceremony. So the winner gets to be presented like an award by Zelda alone on top of the statue. Oh. It's definitely not this one, I'll tell you that. Maybe, if I'm thinking about it off the top of my head, oddly, Majora's Mask. Maybe it Link's Awakening, because it may all be a dream. Majora's Mask, because there's only one town at stake. Like, it's not like the world's going to end or anything. Realistically, the moon crashed into the planet, the world would end, right? But the way that Majora's Mask tells it is that, well, like, Termina will be destroyed. That's about it. It's not like Ganon's going to take over the world and devastate all life. It's not Vati trying to take over and, you know, become the most powerful sorcerer of all time and rule the world. It's not Link Between Worlds where they're trying to destroy the Triforce and steal it for their own and leave all of Hyrule in ruin. It's like, yeah, they have 3 days to escape. They just decide not to because they don't believe it's happening, even though they can see the moon getting closer, and it theoretically destroys a town. Or Link's Awakening, where it's like, well, I guess that was all a dream, but the stakes as told in Link's Awakening are that everything will be destroyed, but then it turns out that it's a dream. So, like, And even if you just say, like, oh, it's just the island that's at trouble, it seems as though the island is bigger than Termina. But both of those sound like good examples, and, like, both of those are theoretically not real either. But most of the majority of the Zelda games are, like, Ganon or a dark force of some kind are going to just take over and rule the entire world. Or destroy it in some way. Let's just say nice hair. Everyone knows I've got the slickest pompadour in town. It looks way more like a mohawk than a pompadour. And then he's got those lovely sideburns. It's a big deal. Just because you're friends with Zelda doesn't mean you can just float through life with your head in the clouds. The irony of just, like, telling Link to grow a backbone. Like, do you know who Link is? Literally got the biggest backbone in all of Zelda. In all of Hyrule, Link has the biggest backbone. He has the power of courage. Just, yeah, like, look at that Zelda design. It just... Again, this game goes for, like, really minimalist design and detail, and I love that. Just really nice, simple design to Zelda. She's got, like, a couple of accessories and stuff, but just really nice and clean. It starts around with, like, yeah, just fucking around in a small town, and Link being the small town boy that has to gain courage to go out into the bigger wide world. And then Link does a little bit of, you know, adventuring and realizes how big the stakes are. Is generally how it goes. Obviously not like Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom, where it just starts out of like, oh no, yeah, shit's been going down. Link, buckle up. I do love this though. Just how badass it must feel to just be able to pull off these moves. Oh no, Link, I hope you get your bird back soon. That could be a major setback towards the ceremony today. It would be a shame if you failed. Grusendorf. Bruce wishes. Bruce wishes. But how fun would it be to just know that you can just, like, backflip off the edge of an island in the sky and just you got a bird waiting for you? Oh, you're beginning to suspect them, are you, Zelda? Maybe we should start looking. Maybe it's got something to do with the cave that sounds like a screaming bird is inside of it. Don't worry, we're going to delay the whole ceremony just for you. I'll always suggest someone is a Goron. Not Ganon, just a Goron, just a Rockman. I think we just head back up. Adam, that's the thing is that I know where the bird is, but I don't know if the game wants us to go talk to somebody first before we go to where the bird actually is. The bird is just up here, but you do need a sword to get past. And I do always find it funny that there we go. You see the cutscene originally of like, oh hey, maybe it's over in that cave over there. And there is 0 things blocking the cave. And then you walk over to the cave and these giant stakes in the ground. Well, I don't know who the actor's name is, but soon you'll have a different Rockman. You'll have a new thing to be your favourite. And the only thing that I can remember that he's definitely from, because I'm watching it right now, is he is the, like, cousin, quote unquote, like, you know, cousin in The Bear, the show about, like, the sandwich shop. That's our new Mr. Grimm. Where's Orange? But yeah, I always liked checklist. It's always that thing of, well, I'm pretty sure that, like, even before they died, just like whenever Stanley was asked of, like, well, who's your favorite portrayal of a Marvel person, it was always Michael Chiklis. If I'm thinking of the right person, like. Bruce has made it a lot easier to delay the start of the race. But the thing is he a really good Rockman? Yes. Is he the Rockman? No. Because technically the Rockman is Mega Man. So, painted ourselves into a corner here. Just like Bruce has. No? Phone was really fucking loud then. Definitely wrong. Just said, don't need to go back. No, the Rockman is unfortunate. Well, I don't think there is a The Rockman. There is The Rock, who is Dwayne Johnson, and there is Rockman, who is Mega Man. I think they just said, go find your bird. It's like, oh, I did find my bird, I just didn't find a way to enter the cave with my bird in it. So if we maybe found a way to get Dwayne Johnson squashed inside of a tiny little Mega Man outfit, then maybe we could call them the Rockman. Just maybe. Now trying to remember just how does one get inside this cave? Also, yeah, you know, there are some things that maybe people forget Skyward Sword did first in Zelda, one of them being the stamina wheel. No kids alive. Ah, yes. I think I vaguely remember needing to go to, like, the sword training hall. The Scorpion King version of The Rock would do it. Like, yeah. Mid-2000s, Dwayne Johnson would definitely do that shit. Definitely not anymore. Unless, like, he could change the hierarchy of Wily Castle. Think. Oh, Pipit. Have some information. Come over here. Pipit and Fledge. They've got the answers. I mean, if you know, we're trying to make the rock appear as a small blue, like, what, maybe 10-year-old child that's actually a cyborg in a Mega Man outfit, I think you might need to use some level of CGI. Well, yeah. Of course they hit the loft wing. That's not really much of a secret. I know where they are. I just... The rock will play a 10-year-old. He could figure it out, right? There we go. Go into the sparring hall and go get, like, the training sword or whatever. I trust the rock. He could play a very bad 10-year-old, just like he plays a very... You know, he acts as a very poor adult man, so why can't he poorly act as a child? Oh, we've got a sword. Yes, please. Let's remind ourselves how to use the sword. You know what we should do, though? Let's 1 second. Options. Don't use amiibo. If you call Fee and use certain amiibo on the surface, you can return to the sky from anywhere, and when you use it in the sky, you return to the same spot on the surface that you left from. Enable amiibo. Yeah, sure. So I might just make getting through parts of the game a bit less of a slog. Motion controls for aiming. No. Motion controls for the camera. No. Camera speed. Book it very fast. Screen display. Simple. You see what it's normally like? Just because I play with simple, because I've played through the game a few times, but this is normal HUD mode and controls, motion controls. So I may be a little bit quieter, as I'm just gonna, like, you know, peel back a little bit to, like, swing my Joy-Con and not hit my desk. But we'll show just what the sparring session is like. Point the Joy-Con at the screen and press Y. And bear in mind, like, yeah, just the entire time I'm just, like, holding my Joy-Con like this. Pointing at the screen. Important to think the direction you're swinging your sword. You swing it vertically, you do a vertical slash. So basically the idea is just wherever I slash, the game should slash too. If you remember these moves, you can handle yourself in a fight. Press L to target as soon as you see. Controls. Swing sword is swing sword. Okay. So you can... I'll try and hold my arm for it. It's a bit uncomfortable too. But you can see, like... And like... If it's just a little movement, like... It can sometimes work, but you pretty much have to... And that's what, like, every time we would be... swinging the sword, doing anything... And you can see just, like, the stab just a bit. The 8 directions that you can swing is basically like, you know, vertical, horizontal, both ways, and then diagonals. And got to reset the gyro already. There we go, that's a bit better when you reset. There we go. And then get that stab. There we go. Are you ready to try a spin attack? Let's go. Zanzatsu mode. So, spin attack to cut everyone moving apart. So it's, yeah. Swing two Joy-Con at the same time to do the spin attack. And then fatal blow, yeah, sure. They do a side slash. And then shake both as we target it. And then I think you also have to, like, maybe do that to get your shield up. When you've got a shield, there's, like, you lift your left Joy-Con up to, like, prompt Link's left hand to do the shielding. And then, like we can roll back in now. That was our demonstration. So now instead, we put button controls on. Want to learn how to use a sword? Cool. So now it's done with the flick of the right stick. So it's just whatever direction I flick the right stick in. Oh. And just press the stick in to thrust the sword. And then quickly just do left, right, left. But that didn't work. There we go. And then what's for a fatal blow? Up, down, up. You gotta love the thrust button. Everyone's favourite. But yeah, just... So, speaking of just, like, Zandatsu mode, just now Link can just be like... Whereas, obviously, think about, like, how fast I'd have to be doing that. I'd have to be swinging to just get that done in actual real time. Of just how fast I could, but now you can just be like, yep, just spam like four or five attacks in one go, and you can just turbo mode it. You know, like in the 2D games, where we've just been able to like turbo mode the press of a button. It's like, yeah, you can do that too without just now having to swing your arm at 1,000 miles an hour. It's still certainly not the best way to do it, but I think it's a decent way to translate the game, you know, okay, yeah, we've already done the trainer, so we can just leave. But it's a good way to translate the system that they had. But obviously this was like just when Wii Motion Controls Plus came out, or whatever they called it. And this game was basically built to show off the Motion Control Plus. And it was like, oh, you can... whichever way you swing your sword is where Link swings his sword. You got that very controversial like E3 demo where just... it didn't really work, and they kind of just had to suck up the fact that it didn't work because there were so many wireless signals going on. And it did, for the most part, work. Wii Motion Plus is what it was called, yeah. You know, it's I guess a good way to show off the gimmick, but bear in mind this game might take you 20 to 40 hours depending on how much side questing you do. The idea that, yeah, just every single swing in the game had to be like... just, it's a workout. If you don't... And bear in mind the button controls never existed until this HD version. You had to complete the entire game only using motion controls. And I think I completed this game maybe like 3-4 times fully on the Wii. So, yeah. Just... I literally spent hundreds of hours just flailing at my TV to play this game. You know, I do think it's a good game. It's arguably a great game. And maybe it was maybe reviewed a little bit too favorably at the time, just because it's a Zelda game. And it got like 10 out of 10s across the board, put it that way. Like nearly every single thing was like 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100, 5 out of 5. Maybe we could have critiqued the motion controls a little bit more. But it was very novel at the time, and not many games gave you that level of, like, yes, immersion. We hadn't had VR yet or anything like that, so... It was very novel. I think if you tried that shit now, it would probably be marked down for it rather than marked up for it. Maybe that can be an incentive one day when we come back and like, oh, return to Skyward Sword, but do the whole thing is like, the whole thing motion controlled instead of the button controls. It's essentially like telling me to do a run of like Wind Waker HD, but don't use the Swift Sail. So it's hampering my experience for nobody's fault. Nobody benefits from this. But you immediately can see the game, telling you, oh, you have to be very specific with how you're cutting everything. Don't get away with wildly flailing. A very precise game. Yeah, I mean, Metagross and Heavy Slam is great. I've got to imagine there's, like, a reason that no one uses Metagross, right? Of just... He's just not got the bulk or something to stand up to the heavy hitters nowadays, but... There's not that many... Oh, it also got Psychic Fangs, fucking hell. Yeah, that's two really good moves. It could work well under Trick Room. I think it's slow enough to work under Trick Room, right? And you got Bullet Punch still, but you might not want that case of like Psychic Terrain and Frigraph. But yeah, the Zelda just keeps hearing this voice. Farming pollen link in a disc server, like, what the fuck? Unless it's, a Discord server for that shit, like, why? Why? Something a bit more devious, yeah. And that's always the thing is, I guess there's a lot of knockoff and sucker punch going around. Maybe that's the reason. But yeah, it's got solid typing, solid move pool, great stats. Like, I don't see why Metagross is so unused. And like, Clear Body as well as an ability when Intimidate's running so awry. I mean, to be fair, people are strange, and a lot of strange people also happen to be writers. Not to stereotype, but one of the few stereotypes that writers necessarily have is not being the most normal of folk. Not to say that that makes it acceptable. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned the other day that I was planning on... I mean, that sounds like maybe it was just like an account that got hacked or something, right? Because, like, there's people even on the Wiki Weekends channel, someone mentioned, like, oh yeah, me and a few friends got, like, randomly hacked recently, and it's a lot of, like, people messaging you, like, as a friend and stuff. And trying to, like, DM you for shit, and people just, like, get caught out by that stuff. But yeah, I mentioned the other week is, like, I was looking at Latias as well. Latias is currently in my party as one of the Pokemon getting trained for Thursday. Is like, there's no other legendaries. I did get, oh no, to be fair, Walking Wake I've got in my party as well to have a look at. Yeah, I remember you mentioning Latias, and I was like, yeah, I was thinking of Latias. I got Latios out as well, but I've always just preferred the design of Latias. It always looks just a little bit like nicer and sleeker, and I prefer the red and white. But yeah, again, in Skyward Sword on the Wii, this was not press some buttons and learn to ascend and slow down and stuff. This was go like this and go up and down with your Wiimote and whoosh about. So yeah, it is one of those things that I've always been, as I mentioned many a time, trepidatious about, like, using the metas and legendaries and stuff, and now I'm just like, let's say, well, the moment I force myself to just use, like, Ogerpon and Urshifu and just jump in the deep end of, like, fuck it. If I can manage to, like, get around using these and not feeling bad, then I can pretty much probably do anything and not feel bad about it. It's just a hurdle to get over in your head of, like, I just don't want to be, like, you know, the person that uses all the meta, and it's like, well, okay, but if you do want to be good in a solely, like, numbers-based game, you've got to kind of just use what's good at some point. I'm looking forward to seeing what new ideas you've got. I haven't necessarily got new ideas at the moment. I've just got, like, new Pokemon that I want to train up, and then I'm gonna, like, start getting a better feel for them, probably using, like, a bunch of them on Thursday of, like, just seeing how maybe I can make it into a team rather than necessarily having an idea for a team yet. Well, don't think we've not noticed the smug looks of, like, ooh, Zelda and I are best friends, we go everywhere together. Bruce has been going on forever, but he's going to be the one to be with Zelda. Got his pompadour in a ruffle about her. That's one way to put it, guys, but... Zelda's playing the role of goddess at today's ceremony, and I'm going to be the one to claim that sailcloth. When I heard she made it herself, man, no way was I going to get some scrawny clown snatch that prize from me. Okay, that was written in my... I thought he was calling Link a scrawny clown snatch. And no, he was calling him a scrawny clown that would snatch the prize from him. I was like, oh, he just called him a scrawny clown snatch. That's some non-Nintendo phrasing right there. That's not a PG game. First I win the big race, and then Zelda and I finish the ceremony together on the statue, just the two of us. Like, dude, you're being a real fucking creep. Real red flags going on here, Bruce. If you fucking pompadour mohawk thing wasn't a red flag enough. Just, bitch. Fuck do you mean? Our special moment alone. This is just one that gets us just show off, like, sassy, confident Zelda. Like, who the fuck do you think I am? It's like, oh, you think just because all of a sudden I'm alone with you on a statue that all of a sudden I'm gonna, like, fall for you or something? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is a really fun, like, character throughout the game of just... As the stakes get higher and higher, you realise that, like, the high school bully really isn't that fucking important. Finding Nemo's rated G. What does G mean? Because, like, we don't have that rating system over in the UK. For us, it's just, like Universal PG or, like, Universal 3 plus PG. Then it's, like, 12, 15, 18. We just get, like, the age numbers. Wait, G forgot. Yeah. Just gets sent out to the back to die. Yeah, they've got the classic of, like, Bruce being the like, you know, bulky, like, garish kind of actual main bully, and then you got kind of the you know, the tall, lanky, like, kind of snivelly one, and the little short, squat one that can't do anything. It's like, yeah. I do like the lot. Just are they just farting this dust out? Like, what's going on here? No, they're just jets. Don't worry about it. Hey. Oh, suitable at any age. Right, okay, yeah, that would... I presume Finding Nemo over here then is just, like, rated universal, which is anything, or, like, 3+, which is 3 and up recommended. But yeah, like, that's a lot of Pixar stuff, right? Is that it's got that veneer of, oh, look, it's all for kids, and it's probably rated for kids because it's kind of subtle enough that it would go over the head, I guess. And it's not shown on screen. It's like a lot of it is implied just off screen. But yeah, there are some really dark things in a lot of Pixar movies, but it's one of those of that they are maybe done subtly enough that a fucking 3-year-old wouldn't notice what's happening, right? Like, not to say that kids wouldn't, but, like, baby toddlers might not get the one thing that I think of is, like, you know, the sad start in Up, where it's like the Carl and Ellie story of, like, well, okay, well, they got old. Okay, kids understand that. Maybe kids don't understand the part where she passed away, though. It's just, oh, I guess she's just not in the rest of the movie, you know. And there's a very fine line. And same with, like, you know, Toy Story and all, like, the horrible things that happen in, like, Toy Story 1 and 2, especially, where it's kind of just... Well, yeah, there was a lot of talk about, like, abandonment and stuff like that, but that would completely fly over a kid's head, and there's a lot of dirty implied jokes as well. But again, it's just stuff that fly over kids' heads, so I don't... It's weird to think of, like, how you could be an adult and rate those films for both adults and kids, because, yeah, how do you determine what children would and wouldn't notice? And what, like, because a lot of the things wouldn't be appropriate for children if they did figure it out, but none of these children are probably going to figure it out when they watch it as kids. It's only normally when you grow up and watch it later on in life you go, oh, these Pixar films had a lot of things that just I never noticed as a child. Would be a very interesting thing to talk to someone about who actually knows about like how they're rated and stuff, but it's one of those weird things rating wise. I saw that is it like Balatro or something? There's a card game, an indie card game that's like a roguelite that's recently come out, and it's been removed from certain stores because of gambling. But the game never has you gambling, but it is based off like it's coming up with high scores based on like poker hands. So you are using cards. Yeah, no worries, Shadow. Thank you for joining as always. And thank you for just being in chat, but take care. Go and get some rest. But yeah, it's like it's using these, it's using cards, it's using poker hands, it's using, I think, like chips and currency, and kind of a general vibe of poker and casino, but there's no gambling involved because it's a single player game with no microtransactions or any monetary gain or loss. So there is zero gambling in there. There's just elements taken from poker which people use for gambling. And that's been like changed from a rating of like 3+ to like, you know, the highest rating possible. And that means because of that, it's been completely removed from a lot of game stores and stuff as well because of having gambling in it. But it's like, but A, it got rated before release as being fine, and for some reason got re-rated and removed from certain stores after release. But B, it doesn't actually contain any gambling, and now it's being removed for gambling, even though it just contains elements that you associate with gambling and casinos and stuff. It's like, yeah, obviously people go to a casino and gamble to play poker, but poker hands and like cards and stuff like that, they're not inherently gambling, and that's the only thing that's present within that game. And again, it's just a one-time purchase game with no way of losing or gaining money within it. And it like, but that game got rated out of certain like virtual stores now because some places just have strict rules on gambling, and it's like full on, I think, just removed from the Switch store right now while they're trying to figure it out of like, no, this game has gambling, it's got to be removed. But it doesn't have any gambling, and it's very, very strange. And I'd love to pick somebody's brains about it that actually knows things in terms of how it works at ratings boards and stuff, and how it can be then released as a game for everybody, but then weeks later it gets fucking removed from stores for being an 18+ game that's got gambling in it. So we right now just have to fly around and catch this golden bird, I believe. Oh dear, I might have to invert flight controls if possible. I never invert my controls, but flight specifically is the one time where it's like, nope. It just, for some reason, when it comes to flying, I want my flying inverted. I can't explain why, but my brain just never likes inverted controls until the moment where flying is involved. goons throwing eggs at me now. Fucking getting Yoshi eggs thrown at me, basically. Jesus Christ. Right, where are they gone? It doesn't, as you like watch this happen, doesn't it seem like I'd be having way more fun right now if I had to use motion controls the entire time? As I'm just quietly suffering through this, even with just analog sticks. I love that. We could animate it being like taken off the bird. No, that would be far too difficult. Just Link reaches out and then da 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 da. A lot of trust in Link there. Just again, if you fall off this island, like, you die. And both Link and Zelda have just been sent off without like just a chance in the world. But I do love this relationship of Zelda and Link compared to, like, you know, Twilight Princess, where it's just, I guess I'm a princess and I gave up, and yeah, Link, go save the world, please. I don't know who you are. Or like, you know, in Ocarina of Time's like, oh hey, I dreamt about you. Should we team up together? Sure, we'll never talk again. Whereas, you know, obviously, yeah, Tetra in Wind Waker, Tetra's fantastic and actually, like, goes along some of the start of the adventure with Link and eventually just becomes, like, a Zelda that sits at the bottom of a castle and does nothing, but while she is Tetra, she's fantastic. It's nice to just get to see Link and Zelda actually be characters with one another. Yeah, it really does, yeah. The fact that they get to be friends beforehand, and again, that kind of happens in Breath of the Wild, like, in a sense of, like, they weren't necessarily friends, but, like, Link was her, like, you know, bodyguard and protector for a long time, a knight. And it's just like, oh, you actually get to see moments where they have interactions and are friends and rely upon one another. And this is kind of the vague inspiration for the paraglider as well in Breath of the Wild. Is that this does not give you any level of freedom. This is literally just essentially a like a story device. It's not an actual gameplay mechanic. But it's just, yeah, it's a sailcloth that means that no matter what height you drop from, you'll be safe because you'll have a little sailcloth to make you fall. And plus it smells nice too, because it smells like Zelda. Say that the goddess gave the sailcloth to her chosen hero long ago. So yeah, even though that this is kind of the establishment of like Hyrule and the Zelda, Link, Ganon trio, as I mentioned earlier, and that kind of, you know, loop and cycle. Yeah, it's just there still was like Hylia and a chosen hero and a demonic army long ago as well. Like, it's always kind of been going on. Favorite moment in video games? Yeah. Oh, look, they get to have time together, all alone. Like, Bruce has been hyping up this moment with Zelda and getting together with Zelda. All alone at the top of the goddess statue together. Bye, Link! To finish the ceremony, you need to drop down right into the center of it. Just Zelda straight away, just trying to murder us again. Are you ready? Fuck you! You better be! And of course, you always have to try and open the sailcloth very close to the ground. But you can kind of see where, you know, in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like, having the paraglider to break your fall. Not necessarily that this is the gliding part of that, where you can utilize it for a lot of free movement or anything, but the kind of Link can jump off anything and break his fall with a paraglider with a sailcloth. That kind of follow through. And there is a lot of, going back through Skyward Sword, there is a lot of things where I can see how that evolved into a better idea in Breath of the Wild, right? So, would you like to just go fly around in the clouds together, Link? And again, just a very slow start to the game, but it just sets the vibe really nicely and sets the characters really well. And like, it does make it a proper just slog to replay through. You're like, come on, I want to get to the actual gameplay bit, but in terms of just story and tone setting and character setting, just, yeah, it does a really good job of setting up the world. I think a lot better than Twilight Princess does. Well, for me, Twilight Princess, a lot of it is just like, oh, okay, I have to do like this other asinine thing for people. For the most part, this is just like kind of watching story moments play out. And it's so much more nicely animated than Twilight Princess. There's a lot more character in like the faces and the animations and stuff. And that soundtrack. First time we get the orchestrated Zelda soundtrack as well. Just you compare the cutscenes in this to Twilight Princess, and there's so much more emotion going on in the cutscenes. And that is a horrible looking tornado for even the HD version. Just damn, that doesn't even really look like a tornado. Just fuck you. Well, what happened? Well, the world seems to have eaten her up. Like, Link, come on, what actually happened? Well, yeah, the world kind of just ate her up. They are lost in the blue. Yeah, exactly. The entire game isn't just like completely bloomed out and blurry, and the eyes actually kind of move in this one. Oh yeah, everyone's favourite. I can't wait for her to tell us that our batteries are low. And they put so much character into the characters of Link and Zelda, and then went, but would you like a companion with literally zero character? And it's funny because there's so many like different actually good characters in this game that B being the companion with probably the least amount of personality is just kind of ironic. they nailed it so much with so many of the other parts of the game that just, oh, I'm Fee, and I'm essentially a robot. In just the fact that I show zero emotion. It's like even Navi had, you know, a couple of voice prompts that were at least enthusiastic. Like, you know, you could ask, like, you know, Midna's very sassy, like the King of Red Lions has got an attitude on him as well. Just Navi has at very least like, hey, listen, what could you say about Fee? It's like, or Fi, whichever way you want to say it, Fee or Fi, or Fo or Form. Is it? It's just complete monotone noise with no personality whatsoever. Just again, when we talked earlier of like Groose giving Link shit of like, well, you know, not literally saying that he's got no courage, but telling him like, oh, he's got no backbone or anything. Link watches Zelda get eaten into a black tornado, gets told that's no ordinary storm, shit's going down, and then like still probably concussed is like putting his boots back on, like, let's go, I'm ready to go and save Zelda. And I'm in dreams about a great mission. Oh, don't worry, I'm sure there's no connections about any of these things. I'm sure I'm just like rambling, don't worry. As long as she's with her Loftwing, I'm sure she'll be fine. Please, Link, just at least get some rest tonight, and then we can worry about all this shit tomorrow. A very confident father. What happened? Well, no one's been down to the surface in thousands of years, maybe? Hundreds or thousands of years? We don't really know. But she may have got eaten by a black tornado that's definitely not a normal storm. It's probably sent down to the surface. But maybe we should just sleep on it. Yeah. It's like, that's the thing, is just the obviously it's written with the knowing, like, tongue-in-cheek. But the fact that Groose is there calling Link of all people the person without a backbone. He literally embodies courage. I just like, some variations of Link are just like, fuck it. I'll take on Ganon with like a ladle and a pot lid. There's Wind Waker Link, who watches his sister get kidnapped and just straight up runs off the bridge without thinking to his suggested death without a moment's hesitation because he needs to save his sister. We are playing Skyward Sword HD on the Switch. I probably should use my Skyward Sword HD Joy-Con when we're playing this, right? I'm currently using the Tears of the Kingdom ones, but maybe I can go and crack out my Skyward Sword ones for next stream. Oh god, no! And the best part is like, oh no, it's you know, it's fine. It stops being a threat to you. You give it a couple of slashes and it calms down. And just, I'm sorry. And it does fly back up. They don't just let you murder the kitten. But during the day, it's just this nice placid kitten that is very adorable. And then the moment it's nighttime, it's like, I'm going to murder you, Link. Just like an actual cat, if you throw it off a cliff, it will fly back up with its ears. Well documented thing about cats. You aren't required to fight with motion controls. I did do like the tutorial thing of comparing the motion controls in the little training room to what the button controls are, but instead of swinging, you can just use the right analog stick. So, you know... oh, no. I know you didn't mean the murderous night phase. We all know that cats can fly with their ears when thrown off objects. It's fine. Don't worry, like it. We all know it. So yeah. So say if I want to slash horizontally, you just flick quickly in the direction you want to slash. And then, like, your spin is, like, left, right, left quickly. And it does mean that instead of, like, having to go, like, you can just spam, like, you can do Turbo Link. So yeah, the potential of DPS of this Link is way higher than in the Wii version, oddly enough. Because you don't actually have to rely on swinging your sword yourself. And it's that weird thing of making it more accessible and not requiring motion controls. It actually makes Link, like, potentially way more efficient and dangerous. But it does make the game a lot more playable, especially in longer stints. Because as anyone can probably imagine, that the idea of having to use motion controls every time you want to swing your sword in a Zelda game, if you want to sit down and play for an entire game, like an entire day, that shit gets tedious and, like, very just tiresome on your arm after a while. Because obviously we're just going through tutorialist areas at the moment, but when you're actually fighting enemies, like every enemy fight, you know, you need to sit there and go, and, like, think about where you're swinging, and then you've got all, like, the swings that the Wii motion controls didn't quite pick up correctly. So add, you know, 20% extra swings inside of there. And when you had to do, like, what you unlock later of, like, the Skyward strikes, you had to hold, like, your arm up like that and charge your arm to then be able to do, like, the Skyward strike as well. So yeah, like, immediately just showing you all the amount of personality that Fee has. Like, according to your social customs, I shall provide you with my personal designation. Fee is the name I was given. Great, nice to meet you, bland, robotic, Fee goddess thing number one. Great. I was created for a single purpose long before the recorded memory of your people. And again, even in the like voice lines, like you hear just the but just, I must be completely monotonous and clearly established that I am just some completely robotic thing devoid of personality. You must take up this sword as one chosen by my creator. It is your destiny. You know, one thing to note is that this is not yet even the Master Sword. Like, this is literally the game that even discovers the Master Sword in itself. Like, it tells the origin of so much of the franchise. And maybe that's one way we could, like, in the future, go through the games is, like, maybe just sitting there and going, like, well, maybe it's not the best way to do it, but we could play through in, like, chronological order, but then you've got to do 3 chronologies at the same time, because there's 3 different timelines after 4 games, and then we don't know where Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are on that. I like the idea. It would just be nice if Fee had more personality to her than she does. Or to it than it does, I guess. I don't really know that, like, Fee is gendered in any way. Just comes across a little bit more feminine. Yes. I highly recommend you take up this sword before you set out to search for her. Does that information invigorate you? Are you ready to accept this sword? It's like... yeah, just the 0 level of just any charisma to Fee at all. It seems that further persuasive measures will not be required. In the name of my creator, draw it and raise it skyward. So yeah, every time you have to do that, you'd have to sit there and go, and like charge it up. Got the goddess sword. The mysterious sword is bathed in divine light. So it isn't the master sword, it's the goddess sword. Link, my master. Why they call me Master Link. He's like, oh shit. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure, but... well, if you're fucking here, then oh shit, you are the chosen youth. This place was left to our people by the goddess herself. The very knowledge of this room's existence is a secret passed down to a select few each generation, along with a handful of words. Light, the goddess's sword shines bright, the great apocalypse will wake from its slumber. So again, a very similar thing of just the moment the sword is removed, like the seal of darkness will be awakened, basically. Do not fear, for it is then that a youth guided by my hand shall reveal himself in a place most sacred. And that's the goddess speaking, or like handing down those words. Sword that I've kept secret all these years, it began to give off faint, otherworldly light. First, I sure thought I was just seeing things like, yeah, sure. I like that, though. I never dreamed the prophecy would come to pass in my lifetime. Not that I never believed the prophecy, I just thought I'd never live to see it happen. The youth will be guided by one born of the blade, one who is also youthful in likeness, yet wise with knowledge immeasurable. And again, just clearly it's meant to be that Fee is just like this very logical being, has very little personality. It's just oral tradition is one of the least reliable methods of information retention and transmission. Play thanks, Fee. Critical sections of the passage have been lost over the generations. Now, maybe one of you fuckers could have written this down. The youth who draws forth the guiding sword will be known as the goddess's chosen hero. And it is he who possesses an unbreakable spirit. Couldn't it have been a she? No? Rude. He shall be burdened with the task of abolishing the shadow of apocalypse from the land. Such is his destiny. With the spirit of the blade at his side, he shall soar over the clouds and plummet below. And united with the spirit maiden shall bring forth the piercing light that resurrects the land. Yeah, like, they literally don't know what the surface is. All tales describe a whole world below, far more vast than Skyloft. So Skyloft is tiny segments of, like, Hyrule that's been lifted into the sky by the goddess Hylia, back in the war that they were talking about, to like just basically keep some of the world safe and fuck off from the rest of the demons and everything. It's the only method available to reunite with the Spirit Maiden, Honorable Zelda. Not just your friend, like the Spirit Maiden Zelda. The world below is a forsaken place, and to reach it, you must pierce the cloud barrier below. In living memory, no one has ever done this. Well, bitch! No one in living memory has pulled the sword out of this fucking stone either. No one else has been the chosen hero, have they? We got the Emerald Tablet. So the first thing you do is Krista hit the crest sitting in this room with a Skyward strike. So this is essentially what the equivalent of shooting a blade out of your sword would be, and this is the first time in a 3D Zelda game that the Master Sword or its equivalent was able to shoot a beam of light. And they said, like, for the longest time that, you know, they were trying to figure out how to do that in 3D and everything. But yeah, that's like the first time in 3D that you ever get to do this. Like, obviously it happens in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but yeah. It's like, for the longest amount of time, it was only the 2D games where the Master Sword could ever shoot a beam at full health. Oh, maybe the reason that nobody in a long time has been able to pierce the cloud barrier is because nobody has access to, like, the goddess's fucking magic to make a gap in the cloud barrier to let anyone in. It's not just that Link's more badass and is going to burst through, it's just like, no, Link has the help of goddess magic to help him do it. Yeah. What the Great Apocalypse turns out to be. Seems both you and Zelda have a big role to play in the destiny of this land. And I think this is kind of, again, another beginning of a trend changing in Zelda games where Zelda isn't obviously a playable character really in any of them, but she's got more to do. It would have been fantastic if it was just, it wasn't any help from magic or anything, if Link just... Well, no one has ever, like, tried to headbutt it as hard as Link ever has. Nobody's ever just thought of diving head first through these clouds the way Link did. He decided to brace the unknown. Please find my daughter and bring her back to me. But yeah. Why do you think we're the chosen hero? Of course we're gonna. Okay. Like, I genuinely think that's the kind of answer Link would give. Of just like, Link, do you accept the call to adventure? Yeah, I guess. Like, yeah. Sure. Okay, cool. Like, just like, I'll go get shit done. I don't care. Literally the embodiment of courage. And himbo energy. A bit of both. And the uniform you were to receive for the winning the race should be ready now. A sturdy uniform like that will prove much more suitable for a long journey. Better go change before you go. And again, not just an origin to... Yeah, not just an origin to, like, the Master Sword, but even to just the tunic. This is the Tunic Tuesday. And it's very funny because Minish Cap comes up with an origin story for... Well, Link actually just had the tunic and not a hat. And the reason that everyone in current Zelda's after tell Link of, like, a boy with a tunic and a hat is because Eslo got turned into a talking hat. And then it went from just, like, the blonde guy in a green tunic to the blonde guy with a green tunic and a green hat. And then this game goes, no, fuck it, it was a uniform. And this game before Minish Cap just completely fucked off Minish Cap's entire plot of the Minish Cap. The title character of the entire game. The origin of the hat in Link's outfit. And this game fucked it all off and went, it was just a uniform. It just so happens that this year's uniform colour was green. I do like that it has the chainmail underneath, yeah. It actually looks a bit more like a uniform that a knight might wear. It is possible that people forgot about the hat between here and then, yeah, like, for sure. But it is just funny that the Minish Cap made the point of being like, well, we can make the origin of the hat. That can be our thing. And Nintendo just went, Capcom, fuck off. No. We're gonna decide where the origin of this comes from. So yeah, for example, when you see, like, Pippin in a, like, yellow knight's uniform and all the other people having, like, the same uniform but in different colours, it's like, well, each year one person graduates and each time just each year has a new colour, essentially. What do you want, small child? Fall in. We got to promoted to... Have all of us, how come only you got promoted to senior class? So it might not be necessarily that, yeah. It might not be one night every year, but at least this year, Link was the only one that got promoted to senior. I presume it might be that it's only one person per year because it was, you've got to win the ceremony to become a knight, but maybe there's other ways, I'm not sure. Oh, they just gave us a shield. Cool. A light wooden shield that breaks easily and can burn, so be careful how you use it. It is the weakest of all the shields. As if he's just got, like, some random knowledge of what other shields are in the game. Ah, there we go. So we could... If we click the left stick, then you do, like, a little... Get the shield out and do a little parry. So yeah, okay. I think it's a good place to end it there for today. We'll do a good old save and quit. You can see as well, 18 hours into the game. That's what happened when I first got this Skyward Sword HD. And I just never finished this HD version. I just never felt motivated enough to get through the end of this game. And again, I did play through it on Wii when it first came out, like, maybe 3, 4, 5 times. Definitely at least 3 times I've played through the whole game. But yeah, I just got through maybe 2/3 of the game. About 18 hours in. Back in 2021. Just kind of went, meh. And, you know, It is a very good game. It's like one of those things of just, well, I think it's not one of my favorite Zelda games, but not being one of my like favorite top 5 Zelda games still puts it relatively high on the list of all other games. At least for me, like a bad Zelda game is still a very good game. Not that this is a bad Zelda game. I just think it's like, I think Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword don't excite me quite as much as maybe like an Ocarina of Time or a Wind Waker or a Breath of the Wild do. But again, this is why we are replaying through all these games, to give myself a more modern context on every single game and see where, you know, my opinions lie nowadays in, you know, 2022 going forward, I think is when we maybe started this adventure of going through all of the Zelda games. Maybe back in like 2021 or 2022, we started this this quite daunting task of going through and playing each and every single Zelda game to finish. But you know, it is time to get through Skyward Sword, and I'm excited to see where I land with like where the rest of the game like kind of falls in my opinion and my estimates. But we've kind of got through the majority of the, you know, slower opening, more tutorial-y area now. Like, we'll be pretty quickly heading into the actual proper, you know, game section next stream. So it'll be exciting to see what everyone thinks of the game. But yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very interesting going back to Skyward Sword specifically to see what kind of they had basic ideas of now, and that evolved into fully fledged better ideas in Breath of the Wild. To more of like a kind of breaking of the mold in aspects than people give it credit for necessarily. But anyway, yes, it's lovely to have everyone here. Thank you all for joining, and we'll be back on Thursday for some competitive Pokemon battling. I'm building a few more Pokemon like today and tomorrow and stuff, so it'll be interesting to try and get to use those. But thank you all for joining, and I hope everyone has a lovely day, evening, or night, wherever you are. Thank you all.